Ashanti. You're from Kumasi. That's the Rastafari. Rasta is from Beach Road.
I know.
Yeah.
Explain to me about Jamaica again.
I have no problem. So I said the real name of Jamaica is known as Jamaica. That's the name, that's Ashanti language. And that tells the slaves that we have started from this land, we can no longer go back to Africa. And then one of the slave masters used the Ashanti language to name the town Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. The real name is Jamaica.
Jamaica.
And that tells the slave that we have started from this land, we can no longer go back to Africa. And then one of the slave masters used that name to name the town Jamaica.
To hold them.
Yeah, Jamaica is Jamaica. That's the name, Jamaica. Ashanti, Kumasi. You're from Kumasi. You are from Kumasi. That's where your root is from. So when you get to Kumasi, the way you dress, the way you eat, your house, your everything really looks like them in Jamaica as well.
Yes.
So a lot of Jamaicans like to go to Kumasi.
That's true.
Yeah, we're doing this. Being Jamaican is not an ethnicity, it's a nationality. So if you weren't born here, you are not Jamaican. Being Jamaican isn't an ethnicity, it's a nationality. Laughing at people thinking Jamaican is an ethnic identity, it's a nationality. Heritage is different to nationality. Well, ethnicity is the fact or state of belonging to a social group that has a common national or cultural tradition, whereas nationality is the status of belonging to a particular nation. Let's remind ourselves that nationality is fluid, and your nationality is only based off of where you legally hold citizenship. Meanwhile, your ethnicity is based off of the cultures, traditions, religions passed on to you by your parents. Why, it's almost as if ethnicity represents ancestry and heritage. What's hilarious is by the logic of these two people, the child of two American immigrants born in Jamaica would be considered more Jamaican than the Jamaican child born overseas.
They have been lying to you about where Jamaicans really came from. And for decades, they have reduced our story to one narrative. Boats, chains, plantation, done. But what if I told you that Jamaica's name itself is an African liberation cry? What if the ark and the saltfish on your plate carries secrets from languages most people can't even pronounce? What if being Jamaican isn't what you all think about? Today we are going to decolonize this conversation about Jamaican identity, because the truth, it's more complex, more beautiful and more powerful than they ever wanted you to know. So buckle up, my family. This is about to shatter everything you knew about Jamaica. Let's watch these clips and then I'll be back, discuss everything with you.
Micah, ex-Micah, Taino words. Taino is black. We're not Indians. We might appear as such, but we're not. Just to clarify something, there are no Indian bones that was found in Jamaica. No 10,000 BC Indian bones. There's no anthropology, archaeological or otherwise, that can prove that there are any other presence on this land but of the dark-skinned Taino joined by our African brothers. These are the actual facts.
It is known that Jamaicans are from Ghana, from the Akans, from the Ashanti tribe, and
so I've been recently seeing a lot of videos on this whole Ghana-Jamaican relationship. I just want to touch on it quickly because I feel like a lot of it's coming from a pure place. However, the way we are talking about the history and the relationship is a bit skewed. There is a relationship, or there is the impact of peoples that are from what is now called Ghana to Jamaica, right? However, they are not the dominant group in Jamaica. In fact, there is no dominant group. People need to remember that there is no dominant people in terms of ethnically in the Jamaicans in the period of enslavement during Jamaica. In Jamaica, sorry. To understand this, we need to understand this. When it comes to Jamaican history and culture, we must get away from looking at our history through a colonial lens. What I mean by that is we should never be saying that Jamaicans come from Ghana or Jamaicans come from Nigeria, because there was no Nigeria, there was no Ghana when our ancestors were being taken from there. Is it? And these things are modern constructs. These things are modern products of colonialism. You see it? So that's where that. Point 2.
Are from Ghana, from the Akans, the Ashanti tribe, and
that's where you know what I'm saying? Historically, the Ashanti would have been more likely to be the ones trading people than to be the ones traded. And I think it's important for us to get away from looking at history through an imperial lens and deifying imperialism. We have more of a relationship, or more of an impact from the other tree speaking peoples of the Akan than we do with the Ashanti and other people of what is now known as Ghana, like the Ga. The next thing and the final thing is that when it comes to Jamaican culture and history, right? Or Jamaican culture, we need to understand that it has multiple origins. Jamaican culture has multiple origins. For instance, one of the videos, a man said that Aki comes from Ghana.
Aki, which is part of Jamaica's national dish, Aki and saltfish, originates in Ghana. Although Ghana...
Which Aki? Kiana Wanya. They said Aki comes from Ghana, but it's not true. There's zero evidence. Zero evidence that Aki comes from Ghana. What we do know is that this fruit, or at least the name for this fruit, it's a cashew nut by the way. This fruit is where we get the word Aki from. In the Akan language, this is known as Akeya or Achia. Is it? And they believe that this is where we get the name Aki from. However, in the Kru language of Liberia, they call this Eki. You know what I'm saying? Eki.
Welcome back, and listen, I need you to forget everything you think you know about Jamaica for the next 8 minutes, because what I'm about to tell you is not just on one island in the Caribbean. It's about how colonial narratives have been weaponized to erase our complexity, our power, and our true origins. See, when most people hear Jamaican, they think Bob Marley, reggae, maybe Usain Bolt running like he's late for his grandmother's Sunday dinner. But here's what they don't tell you, and here's where it gets philosophical. Being Jamaican is not about ethnicity, it is a nationality. And that distinction, that's where the magic and the controversy begins. Because nationality is fluid, legal, and constructed, but ethnicity, that's blood, that's memory, that's ancestral DNA, that's the songs your great-grandmother hummed without knowing why. And let me break this down for you like a grade 3 student. First, let us talk about the Taino people, Jamaica's first inhabitants. Call this land Samaha, land of wood and water. These weren't the stereotypical Indians your history books whitewashed you with. Archaeological evidence shows us dark-skinned builders, farmers, fishermen who created a sustainable civilization before Europeans brought their particular brand of civilization through genocide and exploitation. But here's where it gets even more spicy. When the British needed bodies for their sugar plantations, they didn't just grab random Africans. The majority came from specific regions, what we call now Ghana, Nigeria, Congo. But hold up, and this is crucial. There was no Ghana or Nigeria when our ancestors were stolen. Those are colonial constructs, borders drawn by Europeans who carved up Africa like a Thanksgiving turkey. Now, some of you all have heard that Jamaicans are predominantly Ashanti, and there is the truth there, that cultural connections are undeniable. But here's the plot twist that all make your head spin. The Ashanti were often the ones doing the trading, not being traded. it's more likely the Jamaica's African DNA comes from other Akan-speaking peoples, the ones who got caught in the web of this horrific human marketplace. And this hits different when you're in the diaspora. And I remember growing up feeling like I had chose, am I Africa, am I Caribbean, am I just black in America? But Jamaica teaches us something revolutionary. You can be multiple things simultaneously without losing your authenticity. Think about ackee and the saltfish, Jamaica's national dish. Some claim ackee comes from Ghana, but the linguistic evidence is zero. The word likely derives from the Akan language, or the Kru language of Liberia. See how complex this gets. Huh? One fruit linguistic roots representing the beautiful chaos of cultural fusion. And the name Jamaica itself, some scholars argue it comes from Jamaica, in Ashanti language, essentially telling enslaved people, you are stuck here now, you can't go back to Africa. If that's true, and it's hotly debated by the way, then every time we say Jamaica, we are speaking an African language of both bondage and eventual liberation. But here's where my channel, I want to give you some energy about these academic debates about percentage and linguistics origins, because I feel they're missing the point. While scholars were arguing whether Jamaicans are 80% of this or 6% or Jamaican people are outward, creating culture that moves the entire world. Reggae didn't emerge from some pure African tradition or pure Taino ritual. It came from the streets of Trench Town, where all these ancestries collided, survived, and created something entirely new. Rastafari isn't trying to replicate ancient African religion. It's a response to modern oppression using ancient wisdom. The Chinese who came brought their entrepreneurial spirit. The Indians brought their flavors. The Syrians brought their trading networks. But underneath it all, that African foundation, the drums, the resistance, the oral tradition, the spiritual practices, that runs deepest. You know what really gets me? This is constantly to prove our identity, our authenticity to people who never understand our complexity. We are the children of people who survived the Needle Passage, who turned survival into art, who built communities out of trauma. But we are also the children of the Taino, whose agricultural knowledge and land wisdom still flows through Jamaican farming practices. We are the inheritors of Asian diaspora entrepreneurship, Syrian trading networks, European colonial languages that were bent to our own purposes. When my grandmother makes curry gourd, she's not being less Jamaican because curry came from India. When she speaks Patois, she's not being less African because English Creole flows through it. She's being fully, completely, authentically Jamaican, which means being authentically multiple. And this is even bigger than Jamaican family. This is about how colonialism trained us to think in singular, pure categories where when human experience is always plural, always mixed, always complex. That the same way they want us to choose between being African or American, between being authentic or assimilated. But Jamaica proves that identity can be both rooted and fluid. You can honor your African ancestors while acknowledging your Taino inheritance. You can speak English and Patois and still carry ancient rhythms in your heartbeat. And here's what they don't want you to understand. Listen, being Jamaican is not about proving some percentage of genetic purity. It's about claiming a revolutionary identity that says we took your worst intentions and turned them into our greatest strengths. Every time a Jamaican wins Olympic gold, that's Taino Earth connection plus African ancestral strength plus the fire of survival. Every time reggae plays anywhere on Earth, that's cultural DNA traveling at light speed, carrying messages of resistance and love. The real question is not where the Jamaica really come from. The real question is, how did people from everywhere create something so powerful that the whole world wants to claim it? So the next time someone tries to reduce your identity to one story, one percentage, one simple origin tale, you tell them I'm Jamaican. That means I'm everything, and I'm more than the sum of my parts. And that's that my friends is why they're scared of Jamaican. So I want to encourage you, embrace yourself, embrace your ethnicity, embrace you being that true African. I know you're taken out of our motherland, but we still connected with you, right? I have family who live in Jamaica. I have family who live in America. I have family who live back home in Africa. Others are in South Africa. Others are working in Egypt. We are all connected, and I feel like we don't have a difference. So the next time someone talks about you not being a true African, tell them the African DNA runs in you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for always supporting me. I'd ask you to subscribe, like, comment, and share so that we become a family. Turn on post notification because every day I post new videos like this, and I'd like you to be the very first person to watch my content. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.